Welcome to Reiki Call. This is Karen Harrison at www.karenharrison.net. Oops, somebody is calling me. Probably wanting to find out how to join Reiki Call. So I'll have to deal with that later. Anyway, so welcome to Reiki Call, where we talk about all things Reiki, share Reiki, and answer your questions. And tonight I have a wonderful guest, Terry Dulin, with me. So hi, Terry, and welcome.
Hi, Karen. Hi, guys.
And,
hello.
Just to help with noise, I suggest that you mute yourself unless you want to ask a question. It just helps with computer noises and feedback and things. And there's also the chat feature. If your technology isn't working right or you're shy, you can always ask a question by chat, and then I can read that too. Okay. So if you haven't muted yourself, I'm going to go ahead and mute you, and then if you want to unmute, hopefully, well, if you're on the phone, you can probably just mute your phone. That might be easier if you're on the screen, because I don't want to mute you because I don't know how to unmute you when you call in. Okay. All right. That's good. Okay. Well, Terry, she is a Reiki master teacher in the Chicago area, and somebody that I got to mentor at the International Center for Reiki Training, and got to know Terry. And I think Terry is awesome and has a lot of skills and expertise to offer. So Terry, can you say a little bit about yourself and how to find you and connect with you?
Absolutely. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for asking me to join you, Karen. Thanks for having me. So my name is Terry Dulin. You guys can contact me at, God bless, I'm telling you, I'm a little nervous, so pardon me, but Midwest, so sorry. Always nervous with these things. But anyway, MidwestReikiCenter.com. My phone number is 219-712-0507. My email is terrydulin@hotmail.com. So yeah, I'm available pretty much anytime. So if you don't mind, I'll share a little bit of, again, about myself.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I've been practicing Reiki since 2002. I have become a Reiki master in 2009, and I've been teaching since then too. So my background pretty much is the fact that I grew up in a metaphysical environment. My mom is a professional psychic. So with that, I've had a lot of exposure to a lot of different things. One of them, outside of, assisting my mom with healings, has been the paranormal investigations, as well as doing exorcisms. So again, I love Reiki, don't get me wrong, but my second favorite thing to do really would be clearings and exorcism work.
Okay, great. And you've been doing that for what, quite a while, right? Many years?
Yeah, a little over, I want to say a little over, but at least 20 years, like if not longer, seriously, at least 20 years.
Okay. All right. Well, I know that some of our participants have some questions, so I thought maybe we would start off with that, and then later let you fill in with some stories of some things that you have done to kind of give an idea of the different kinds of things that you've worked with. So
I'd love it.
Okay. Well, Nora, I know you had a question.
Yes, thanks, Terry, for joining us, and thank you, Karen, for hosting. And hi, everybody. I'm from Russellville, Arkansas. So I actually want to know, Terry, what you can tell us about gray aliens, reptilians, and Black Goo. And specifically, how do you get rid of these? First, if you've encountered them, and number two, what are your strategies for removing them?
Okay, good to see you again. It's been a while. We had our class together, so you look fantastic.
Thank you. So do you.
Thanks. Aliens I've encountered, reptilians I have not, and Black Goo I have. So aliens, honestly, a lot of the stuff that I've done, or the things that my mother and I have done together, the easiest thing that I have found to get rid of the aliens is the healing the spirit attachments exercise. And that is, for the most part, pretty simple as far as following what William has in the manual. So the aliens and the Black Goo you would treat like any other type of spirit attachment, and just do the healing the spirit attachments. I think it's really powerful that you need to address them with no fear. And I say them, but pretty much when you are ultimately saying the prayer that William has laid out, you really need to take a very firm stance and really command them to leave. And not only commanding them to leave, but again, that prayer where you're talking about the cords, the attachments, those who have given it assignments, that's really important, because you're going to make the initial connection with that entity, with that spirit, with that alien, and then have that go back to whoever, and I say whoever, but if there was somebody who actually initiated this whole process, because there are a lot of times where you can accidentally walk into something, and then there are times where somebody will send something to you. So it just ultimately depends on how you got yourself into that particular predicament. And then, like I said, just using the healing the spirit attachments. And as far as the Black Goo goes,
and Terry, I could just pause you for a second. In case someone doesn't know about the healing spirit attachments, can you say a little bit more about that, where that material is, and who William is that you're referring to?
Sorry. William Lee Rand, president of the International Center for Reiki Training. God is an amazing man, Reiki master teacher who has been practicing and teaching Reiki for over 30 years. So the technique I'm referring to is a technique that master teachers learn in their first master class. And not only, I believe it's also in the Karuna master class as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you can find it in the manual.
Yes. And
this manual right here.
Uh-huh. And in Holy Fire 3, there's some updated language in there about healing cords and connectors, and I can't remember what else. I don't know if you remember. There's some new things that they've added to that process.
I'd have to look really quick to see how the language has changed. Whether it is right from Holy Fire or Holy Fire 2 or Holy Fire 3, that language, whichever prayer you use, still works fantastically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And you were getting ready to address the Black Goo then, I think.
Yes. So what I found as far as the Black Goo goes is using various techniques for clearing yourself. Of course, you can use the healing the spirit attachment technique. You can use what I use is, oh God, I can't even think of it now. It is the Holy Fire Healing Experience, sorry. I use that technique quite often. That works well. And then also scanning your body. So I don't know if you guys go through a process of scanning, and I don't mean Biosin scanning, but I mean like closing your eyes and scanning your body with your mind's eye to kind of look for imbalances with the aura. I mean, Biosin scanning is one way But sometimes that black goo is really close, and sometimes even on your physical body. That scanning, with Biosen scanning, has not worked for me. So I just kind of close my eyes and I kind of scan my body. Again, just with closing my eyes and just looking at my body from the inside out and seeing, what I've picked up. And I have had that happen in the sense of I've definitely felt like I've had black goo, especially like around my left eye, to where removing it, again, the two techniques I shared with you, and then the aura clearing, right? The psychic surgery we used to do too, to where you can kind of just like go in and grab and remove that energy, and then of course fill that space with Reiki.
Okay, can you say a little bit about the Holy Fire healing experience and where you learned that?
Okay, also masterclass. That is one of the techniques that you learn in the masterclass. So with the Holy Fire healing experience, there's a script, so it's guided imagery that you start with, where you're walking your client through a forest. And this I say this as a client, but please keep in mind that you can do this on yourself, and I've done this. So you're walking through a forest, and when you're doing it for yourself, you will already know where you need to focus this heavenly light. Okay, I'll say it that way. And ultimately, once you focus the light on a particular area of your body or your client's body, then you just kind of release it and let it go. So then after that, you follow the light. And that's ultimately what I use, part of my aura clearing process that I use, and what I personally do myself. Okay. So when I say the process I use, but it's process that I use on my clients.
And then the scanning with your mind's eye, that might sound pretty easy, but for people that have no idea how to do that, can you say a little bit more about how you do that?
Okay, absolutely. So the very first thing that I do when I start any kind of Reiki session, whether it's for myself or for a client, I always start in Gasho. And I'm always starting in Gasho because I'm always focusing my space between my palm chakras. So once I feel that I'm grounded and centered, I start then, again, just kind of starting at the top of my crown chakra. And I'm looking from the inside, right? I'm looking at my head from the inside and just slowly kind of scanning my body. So I'm looking from the inside, I'm looking at the outside of my body. I have a picture in my mind of what I look like. I'm just kind of slowly scanning. And there are times when I'm scanning, I actually feel like blips in my energy, so to speak. So there are times where I just feel something that just feels off or excess energy. And with this black goo that we're talking about, it really tends to be on my left side, my left eye. So when I do feel that, I just continue to scan my body. And then once I mentally make notes of where I need to release, then I go back and I do the aura clearing that I learned a long time ago, and almost like psychic surgery kind of thing. And I go in to remove this energy. And then after I'm removing the energy, of course, I am filling up that space with white light, with Reiki.
Okay.
And then after I do that, sorry.
Yeah, so the aura clearing is a technique in the Sui Tibetan material that we taught. It's not in the Holy Fire material, but it's pretty easy. You basically activate your Reiki energy, and then there's a technique to extend your Reiki fingers by taking your hand and just intending to pull out your fingers and draw a power symbol on the end, and then pull out your fingers, draw a power symbol on the end, and then just use your Reiki empowered hands to clear and release, and you can add your breath in. I call it the second blow technique. So that's the main part of it. Okay, so go ahead, Terry, you were saying.
Oh, after that, for the most part, I ground myself. There are times, depending upon how I'm feeling, when, and I should refer back to the Healing the Spirit Attachments exercise, that when you're done with this particular, well, when you're done with the first part, there's two parts to that, but when you're done with the first part, the second part of it is where you take that part of the body that allowed a spirit to attach, whether it's a spirit or an alien or energy to attach to you, that you take that up to the highest heaven, right? And then you have God heal that. So it's, I believe the verbiage, I think, as I'm thinking about it, is like, the love and forgiveness, but ultimately I take that, well, what I've done honestly is I just take my whole body. I just actually see, I imagine or envision my whole body, my whole being going up to the highest heaven to be healed. So that would look like, my mental body, my physical body, my emotional body, my spiritual body, just my whole being going up to the highest heaven, wherever God wants to put me, and then having my whole being ultimately healed and then brought back. The first time I actually experienced that, I had what you call like a healing crisis for a couple of days after that, but I feel fantastic. And I do this as part of a regular routine of making sure that my energy is cleared. So, I'll start out with doing, like I said, scanning and stuff like that. And I do scan as part of my routine of making sure my energy is clear. But then after I do the scanning, then I take my whole being up to the third heaven or the highest heaven to be healed and then brought back down ultimately.
Wow, and you said you do this on a regular basis. How often is regular?
Probably maybe, I want to say once a month. Because I did it initially when William came out with the new technique and the new verbiage and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my God, so if I'm doing this on my clients, I wonder how it would be if I did it on myself and not only focus on just the area of the body that allowed the spirits to attach, but my whole being. So that this way I'm not energetically allowing any spirits to attach. So that again, work in progress, but that nothing then can attach to me. So if I do feel like something's going on where my energy feels imbalanced, again, I can scan or I'll use any of the other techniques, but then after that, I'll just ask my whole being to go up to the highest heaven to be healed. So I don't have the healing crisis like I experienced the first time, because I felt sick for 2 days, but not in a bad way. I mean, I was still able to, do what was necessary, but I still had that like upset stomach kind of experience.
Okay, fascinating. Okay, well, Nora, do you have further question?
Yeah, I do the spirit attachment release on myself regularly, but I think I wanted to know your opinion. Do you think it's a lot better if somebody actually does it on you? Because I find that I can't get some of that stuff off sometimes. Like right now, I can feel the goo inside inside my body and my chest here and back here. And so, I feel it, and I haven't done the spirit release on myself yet today, but sometimes I just wonder if it's stronger if somebody does it on you. What do you think?
So I don't know if it's necessarily stronger, but it'll definitely be different. Okay. Because when you're working with someone else's energy, right? I mean, you experience things differently. So I would say, number one, I would love to go ahead and do a session with you, at least, to see what, we can do to see how things can shift. But I do it, but I'm always open to, other people working on me, really. So just to see the difference is what I would say. So I would say continue doing what you're doing to continuously clear your energy, and then definitely have sessions from others. And then you and I can,
that'd be great. I got your number. I just sent you a text.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, I'm wondering if other people have some questions or experience that they would like to share on this topic. Okay, well, if not right now, well, Terry, maybe you can share a couple of stories about, some work that you have done.
Okay.
Of course, without identifying, the person, respecting confidentiality.
Absolutely. So one story that I don't share often, but it's actually kind of a neat story, is an exorcism that I had done with my mom years ago. And not to say that it would be, well, whatever, however it sounds, right? This is just a story. So let's just leave it at that. So we were doing an exorcism on someone. And I have two stories I'll share with you guys. Okay, so anyway, we're doing an exorcism on someone. And what was interesting is that the type of exorcism, the work that my mom and I do, it does take two people. My mom, being a psychic, professional psychic, right? She can, see the dead, she can hear the dead. She's a trans medium, all sorts of fun stuff. So for her aspect, her part in what we do together is she's the scanner, and ultimately she'll scan the person's body, and she will share what she sees that's going on energetically in their body. And past life stuff, all of that really plays into what happens when a person is like psychically attacked. It's not just this lifetime, it's usually previous lifetimes coming in and just, what's happened in the past kind of like portrays itself out into your experience today. So anyway, she'll scan the body, and I'm the facilitator. So I will go and talk to the people or talk to the energy or whatever she's seeing. I again facilitate. So I talk to these individuals, these entities, these demons. So she's scanning the body. She's telling me all this stuff. I'm writing it down, and I'm going to talk to this one particular entity. And we're talking, and again, this entity is actually talking through her in a safe manner. So we go to walk this person, this being, into the light. And the next thing my mother says is, oh, there's a bunch of, beautiful little forest animals. There's like, a little bunny and a little fox and a little deer and, all these little forest animals. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. And she said a little wolf. I'm like, okay, that's cool, right? What a really pretty image to see all these little energies, these little entities. And she said they're all little white light beings. And I said, okay, that's kind of cool. So we're talking, and again, I write this stuff down. Everything that's coming out of her mouth, we're recording, and I'm journaling everything. So we talked to this next being. I think the person like had a knife in their back or something like that. So we talked to the energy around the knife in the back. We find out what's going on. So then I was talking, and I said, hey, let's go back to those little animals that you saw, those little ones. She's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with them. I said, yeah. I said, but let's check anyway. So part of the conversation is I address the animals, and I say, please speak through Jorianne without harming her in any way. Do you have a name? And sure enough, I said that, and that little cute little wolf actually kind of transformed, projected itself from this cute little tiny wolf to Lucifer. And I had a conversation with Lucifer. Now, not Lucifer, Satan type, similar, right? Similar energy, but not that. This particular persona or part of Lucifer was like any other individual who ultimately said he had a job. And his job was to create havoc among people. But being an offset of God doing good, his job was, again, just to create mischief. And while he was very much, he knew who he was, and he ultimately knew that he had to leave the person that we were clearing, we were not able to walk him into the light, but we were able to go ahead and get him to agree to release whatever agreement or bond that he had actually on that person. So he left. We just couldn't get him into the light to cross him over. But he was very much, he was just Lucifer. He knew what his place was in the universe and how he was meant to be you know, in everything in life. So I thought that was pretty fascinating, because you wouldn't necessarily think that, you know, these cute little white animals coming from a forest would, yeah, ultimately be Lucifer. So that was one story that we did. That again was interesting for sure. And we talk to these spirits, these entities, just like you and I are having a conversation. So you do have, you know, darker entities that want to threaten, saying, oh, I'm going to harm you, I'm going to hurt you. And it's like, no, I don't think so, because we create a sacred space. I Reiki everything, you know, I'm Reiki, my mother's Reiki. So, you know, there is no, I mean, they can threaten all they want, but there is no concern of harm, you know, when we're doing this work. And especially if you guys, and I'm referring to my manual over here, but especially if you're doing the healing the spirit attachments. I mean, William really has this, you know, prayer and this procedure laid out to where there is no harm to the practitioner. So that's really important. So that's one story that I do share on occasion, not often, but it's a neat story. I can say that I talked to Lucifer. And again, never threatening, right? Never intimidating, just knew who he was in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, so I'd like to just say yes to what you just shared about there is no danger to the practitioner. And the healing spirit attachments, if you take the Holy Fire Reiki Master class, you learn how to do it, or if you take the Holy Fire Karuna class, and it's very simple. You just read a series of prayers combined with the Holy Fire energy. And one of the things that is not necessary is to be able to see and know what it is you're releasing. So unlike Terry, I don't always know what it is I'm releasing, and I don't engage it in any dialogue very often. I do offer it to a number of my clients whenever anyone says they've got a problem with an addiction, they feel stuck, they feel like a black cloud is hanging over them, they feel like they have negative energy on them. I say, well, you know, you don't know what this might do, but I offer it. It only takes 15 or 20 minutes the way that I do it. So it's quick procedure, and I can offer that combined with the Holy Fire healing experience, which Terry also mentioned, which is the guided meditation that takes another 15 minutes or so. So, you know, can offer both of those in one session. Well, do you want to share the other story, Terry? And I remember one story you shared on the Reiki Summit when we talked about this, was where someone was, there was some spirit that was masquerading as, something that was really big and mean and trying to intimidate you, but, you didn't feel scared because, said the energy that you had access to was much more powerful than what they had. Could you maybe share about that one?
Yeah. So I don't remember all of the details that I shared, but I can tell you that that has happened a couple of times where you have kind of like little demons, minions maybe, and a lot of these, they want to appear bigger than what they are. Okay, so a lot of the work that I do, like I said, especially with my mom, everything, no matter what, comes from God. Okay, Lucifer came from God. He was an archangel that fell. Okay, so everything has a spark of light. So you will, not you guys, depending upon the work that you do, right? You might actually encounter this. You might encounter, the lower vibrational energies and entities. So if and when you do encounter them, right, they just want to appear big and bad. They, become boisterous. They're like, oh my God, I can hurt you, and I can do this and I can do that. And a lot of what we do is really remind them that, they came from God. So some of the spirit, entities or the energies, the deceased loved ones, that I encounter, they forget, who they truly are. So it's a matter of reminding them, where they came from. And sometimes it takes work, and I don't mean convincing, but I mean, it's a dialogue. It's to try to figure out, why don't you feel that you are good enough to, God, be in God's presence, go into the light. So whenever they threaten me, I have to tell you, just not disrespectfully, but some of these guys really come across, and it's just funny. So I'm like, okay, so I understand where you're coming from. I appreciate that you are, who you think you are, but then, let's work to remind you of who you truly are. Like we talk about, like our authentic self, right? So it's healing this culturally created self. So it's healing this, I don't know, demonic persona that they, they think they have. They think they're really big and bad, but a lot of the times that they're just scared. And they really are scared because they believe that if they don't do what they were told to do, that whoever sent them, to hurt a person or to cause havoc or chaos or whatever, that there's going to be retribution if they don't fulfill, their, I don't know, I don't even know what you'd call them. I don't know, whoever the big guy is, whoever sat there and told them that they have to do this nasty thing to you or whatever it is. So yeah, so it's a matter of, just reminding them, sharing with them. But some of it's just really, I've been doing it for so long. I'm not threatened in any way, shape or form. I just kind of think it's humorous, which is not nice to laugh at them, but it's funny. So it's the stuff that they say. It's like, are you kidding? But okay, sure, whatever. So yes, that's kind of what happens in some of the situations. And please keep in mind, the very first thing that I do is protection, right? So I have, we create a sacred circle, right? But I call in God, Jesus, I'm holy fire, Reiki all over the place. I'm energizing myself, protecting myself. My mom, like I said, is, Reiki. So we call on God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, holy fire energy. We're calling on the brothers and sisters of the light. Jesus, of course, is, if you guys don't know, commands all beings, right? Can command the dead. So yeah, I mean, I have no fear. I'm cautious, don't get me wrong, but I've got Archangel Michael at my side. I've got Jesus with me. So yeah, no fear. So, but
Terry,
the one thing I wanted to, yes, sorry.
can you say more about the circle? I mean, is there something that you're putting, how big's the circle, and is there any more details about the circle of protection?
So what I do, and again, there's 2 circles that we do. So one, I'll tell you guys, well, I can tell you about both of them. So the one that I do first and foremost really is Holy Fire Reiki. So I will go ahead and ground and center myself, energize my chakras, and then I go into, and you can do either 4 walls, right? You do the 4 walls, you do the ceiling, the floor, the center of the room. You can do the 4 directions, and then, kind of heaven above, heaven below, and your space, your current physical space here. So I think it's like what, upper heaven, lower heaven, and middle heaven, if you want to do shamanic terminology. So we do that.
And you're doing that with the holy fire symbol and place
yes,
the holy
ma'am.
fire symbol on the 4 walls, ceiling, and the floor.
Yes, ma'am. Yep, holy fire master symbol. Yep, all over everything gets holy fire. Then there's a technique, which is, I'm trying to think of how you'd call it. It's, well, okay, for lack of a better term, ultimately you're casting a circle of protection. And that you're ultimately asking, Archangel Michael to come in, Archangel Uriel, Archangel Raphael, and Archangel Gabriel from 4 directions to come in and for protection. And you're seeing, you're envisioning that you're yourself growing. And then again, this is all visualization, right? So you see yourself growing tall with the sword of fire in your hand, and then just taking that sword of fire and pretty much going around yourself 3 times, starting in the east, going around 3 times to go ahead and create a circle of protection after you call in the angels then you ultimately command any lower vibrational entities to leave that circle that only the gods may enter. And then you call in the spirit guides, and you just see flames from the circle that you just created, see flames going up, and it's just a circle of protection.
Ah, very cool.
It's a lot of visualization. My mom has been doing this, like I said, for years. She's been doing exorcism work, I think, for about 30 years now, probably longer, but she did this at one of her girlfriend's houses. And I don't know, I think it was at night or whatever. She said because the next day her girlfriend went outside and actually saw 3 burn holes in the backyard. So what we do, say in the other realms, do affect our physical realm here. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. It's pretty cool. I think it's cool. I think all of this stuff is cool. So I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah. And Nora had written that I totally agree with the big ego of the lower entities total gain.
Yeah.
And okay, so just checking with our people here. Does anybody else have another question?
Yes, Terry, this is Lisa from Houston, and I apologize. I have my granddaughter, and she's a little under the weather. But what can you share in reference to us utilizing our light language, or speaking of tongues, as some may refer to it?
So hi, Lisa. Thanks for the question. I want to ask a little bit more when you're talking about speaking in tongues, as you personally are speaking in tongues, or that
Yes,
the spirit speaks in tongues?
The spirit through me as a conduit. Okay. I had an experience recently where I had somebody call on me that was experiencing some very dense energy. And as I was praying for him and preparing to assist him, I involuntarily began to speak in my light language, one of which I'd never recognized. I'd never utilized before, rather. And yeah, I just felt empowered immediately. And I knew that it was somehow a form of, for lack of a better word, a warrior type, a spiritual warfare type intercession. So I just wonder if you're familiar with this, if you can shed light on it in any way, shape, or form.
I wish I could. Honestly, I've never had that experience. I've heard other people, have that gift and ability to go ahead and speak in tongues, but I don't know a lot about it. So I wish I could, but I cannot.
Okay.
Karen,
okay.
Do you maybe have any experience with that?
I don't, but maybe there's somebody else on the call that does.
No, I don't. This is Rachel. No, I don't.
Okay. All right.
Okay, well,
Sorry.
I guess no, that's quite all right. I find this all fascinating, and I feel like I've been called to do this type of work, but it was just the most phenomenal thing that occurred during prayer and me preparing. I was just overcome with this beautiful language, and after praying for 15 minutes or so, this person that I was working with said that he felt this really heavy presence lift from his chest, and he could breathe easier. And so I was hoping somebody maybe had a similar experience or could share something in that regard.
I have. This is Patrice, and when I do healing work or clearing work, or pray, often I will speak in tongues. Sometimes when I maybe like I'm communicating with the angels or God, or I pray on someone's behalf, it just comes out.
Mhm.
I find that sometimes I feel like our language, whatever language our earth language is, that it doesn't, we don't quite have the capacity to speak into existence those things that are not as though they are. And one way to do that is through light language or speaking in tongues.
Well, okay, Patrice, I appreciate that. I thought, am I the only one that has experienced something like this? But I'm very grateful and humbled by it. It was just a very beautiful experience. I received this gift about 20 years ago, but this particular tongue that I prayed that night 3 days ago was it was unlike anything I'd ever heard or experienced. So I guess I will just continue and believe that that's just something I was given, and I can continue to utilize it because obviously it was successful.
Right, and it sounds like to me like it just flowed from you and through you, like it's
Oh, it did, yeah.
like your whole,
Yeah.
like your soul spoke, and that is the way that your soul spoke and communicated. And I find that I just let it flow, and it does what it does, I guess.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And
I can say that.
Just a
Sorry,
little
go ahead.
like the Karuna chanting that we practice, where we are using healing sounds and we are chanting those over the person with the intention of transmitting healing. Jonathan Goldman, a famous sound healer, says that healing or sound plus intention equals healing. So if you are intending to use sound in any way, whether it's words or a singing bowl or singing or, whatever sound, that is, for the purpose of healing.
Right. And it's all intention, as we well know, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I can share the closest that I could ever say that I got to anything along those lines is really allowing Reiki to flow through me. And when I'm working on a client or having a class, I will tell you that there are things that my students come back or my clients come back to me and say, oh, well, you said this. And I'll look at them and I have no recollection of ever saying that. So I'm actually kind of impressed with myself for the stuff that they're like, oh, well, you said this. And I'm like, wow, that was pretty profound. I said that? But yeah, that's about the only thing, But I think that happens to many Reiki masters.
Oh, very cool. Okay, well, any other questions?
Hi, this is Sherry in Wichita, and I've got a question for Terry. Could you explain in your experience, the difference between the aliens and the demons and the Black Goo? Just how we would know the difference?
Sure.
Or what the differences might be?
Yes. Tell me your name again.
Sherry.
Sherry. Okay, thanks, Sherry. Thanks for the question.
Mm-hmm.
The aliens that I've experienced, so I've not experienced any alien on me. So the aliens I've experienced have definitely been through the exorcism work that I've done with my mom, to where she was able to identify the actual alien. So that was just something, she's like, okay, well, there's an alien here and there's an alien here. So that part was, we treated that alien like we would treat any other entity or demon, as far as walking that entity into the light. So what I can share with you is the difference between like an entity or a demon. Usually the entities that I experience are like disincarnate beings, right? So they would be somebody who lived on earth, who've had past lives, who've decided not to incarnate for whatever reason. They don't feel they were good enough to walk into the light, to be with God. Some, if they were in a coma, don't realize that they're dead. So they're just kind of like walking around in a fog. However, they will attach to someone if they are drawn to that person's energy. So that would be an entity in my definition. A demon or a minion are those type of entities who really are there to cause harm to a person. Okay. And those identify themselves, they're usually more difficult when, again, the exorcism work that I do, they're more difficult in the sense of they're combative when you're talking to them. You know, a lot of the times when I'm dealing with a disincarnate, it's like having a conversation. You know, why are you with this person? How long are you with this person? You know, what can you tell me about your death? Opposed to a demon or a minion who sits and says, well, who wants to know, and who made you in charge, and what do you think you're doing? You know, again, that kind of thing. You know, they just come across like they're just this big bad energy, and they're just not. So it's just a matter of, you know, getting them to a point, and again, and not coercion, but some of it's, you know, just talking to them. Most of it's just talking to them. And then sometimes we just ask Archangel Michael to come in and remove the energy. So our goal with, you know, an alien or an entity or a demon is really to take them off of the person and then walk them into the light. The goo that I've experienced physically or personally is just removing energy. I mean, to me, the goo is just more energy than anything else. I've not had any kind of experience to where this goo is taking on a persona where it's identifying as a person. To me, it's just really icky, sticky energy that's kind of like flat on the skin that, you know, you really wouldn't necessarily see. It's not like a cord being cut where, you know, you might have like a little piece of something sticking out of your body somewhere. It's just flat to the skin, and it's a matter of just removing that excess energy and then filling that space with light. And then after, no matter what kind of spirit releasement work you do, it really is about filling that person up with Reiki energy and making that person whole. And it's not just the physical, because it affects the whole being. So it's affecting, you know, the mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual parts of that person, that individual, and getting them, like I said, whole again.
I can add a little bit to that, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so who was asking the question?
Sherry.
Sherry. So Sherry, how I experience through my hands and energetically, the aliens have like a rubbery feel. It's almost like they have more viscosity to them, and versus the spirit attachments and demonic stuff. Okay, because they have more of a lighter feel to them, and I think they're actually easier to get off than the aliens. That's been my experience. And then the Black Goo has almost like a excuse me, like almost like a fibrous feeling, and then you'll feel it like tingle, and then all of a sudden it'll collapse, and you'll feel a lot of it like just falling apart. That's been my experience, what it feels like.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you. All of it makes sense to me. Just curious. Thank you.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we like to do on this call is to send Reiki. So we're going to do that for a few minutes. I think we'll just do it for about 5 minutes for each other so that you can give and receive Reiki. If you have Reiki energy, I invite you to power up your hands with your Reiki energy. We will be ending, you know, right at the top of the hour. And our next one will be February 17th at 7. It's usually the third Monday of the month, but it can vary a little bit depending on my travel schedule. So February 17th, I'd love to have you all join us again. And I do upload the recording of this to my website at KarenHarrison.net. to my YouTube channel that you can find at Karen Harrison Reiki. And then I send anyone on my Reiki call email list a recording in case you missed it or want to replay it or something. So, all right, so hang out with us for a few minutes and we'll send some Reiki and then do some more appreciations for Terry here at the end. So go ahead and activate your Reiki. And then let's intend to send Reiki to everyone on this call and to everyone that watches it later for healing for the highest good of all concerned. And also send Reiki to all the current world problems for divine resolution. So now we'll just have a few minutes in the silence. So unfortunately, let's bring that to a close. That always feels so wonderful. Yeah, normally we have a little bit longer to share Reiki, but we're going to have this exciting discussion tonight. So I want to say thank you so much to our guest, Terry. And would you share again your website and how to contact you?
Yes, absolutely. I do want to share one more thing, and I will be very, very quick. For those who are interested in protection, energetic protection, and I say energetic, but if you're using sage, an alternative to sage is camphor. You can get it on Amazon. You can get camphor in sticks, and you can get camphor in resin. So use that because it makes the space uninhabitable to lower vibrational energies, demons. So last bit of information. And then again, my name is Terry Dulin. I'm with the Midwest Center for Reiki Advancement. My website is midwestreikicenter.com. My email is terrydulin@hotmail.com. My phone number is 219-712-0507.
And what do you do with the camphor, Terry? I hope you don't rub it all over your body. That probably would burn.
Yeah, no. no. But in the incense sticks, right? The incense sticks, you use it to clear your room. You would use it as sage or, oh God bless, Nag Champa, which I use Nag Champa for clearing too. But then Palo Santo. So if you're going to clear space, you can use the camphor incense sticks, you know, to really clear your space. And then with the resin, once you clear your space, then you would use the resin, for protection. You put it in the four corners of your room. So I do the camphor, well, it's always in my Reiki room, but then I do the camphor clearing the house and stuff like that with it. And it's also said that you can put camphor in a glass of water and have that by your bedside also for protection. But it just makes the space uninhabitable to lower vibrational energies as well as demons. So it's pretty powerful.
Okay. Well, that's cool. And I think Nora has advocated the Palo Santo and also orange oil. Is that right, Nora?
Actually, I think the camphor is stronger than all of them. And I actually have jars of it. I give it out to people as a gift. So I buy the camphor and I make little balls out of it. And I just drop it in a jar of water, like just a smaller mason jar, and it stays. And when you take the lid off, if the fumes go out in the room, so having it by your bed is really good. But what I found is that when we're sleeping, we are vulnerable, and so the camphor provides a residue so they can't stick to you as much. And then also for strategy for clearing myself, I make myself miniature and I drop myself into the camphor water as another way to clear myself.
So did you say these were sticks or?
I have bought it.
Did you say these were sticks?
I don't use the sticks, but I'm going to buy some because I didn't know about those. I buy it. It looks just like salt. It has a little bit of moisture. It has more moisture on it, but it just looks like salt. But it's strong.
It reminds me of the menthol, right? So it reminds me of like mothballs. And the sticks are incense sticks. So you can go on Amazon. You can get anything from Amazon, but go on Amazon and get camphor incense sticks or camphor resin.
Okay. Well, thank you all for
Excellent.
participating and joining us. And let me know what topics you were interested in. And also for all of my Reiki students, I've been sending out my newsletter with a way to connect with me through text. I've been sending out about weekly text to you all with little Reiki inspiration. So my website is KarenHarrison.net. My email is Karen@KarenHarrison.net. So I look forward to connecting with you all again. So Reiki,
thank you so much, Karen.
And hugs. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessings.